The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A Democratic Republic of Sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
This was probably one of the hardest teams that I had. It's coming up with the best case, worst case scenario. Because I think they are what they are, and I don't know that there's a lot of improvements that you can really make to this team. The Minnesota Vikings, I'm coming around to, I think they are the NFC version of what I think the Denver Broncos are in the AFC. They got a roster that I really like. Pretty much every position. Could you upgrade in places? Sure. If money wasn't an object and we could run out and get anybody we wanted to, sure, you can improve this roster. But for the most part, Kirk Cousins is the guy that it all hinges on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if Kirk Cousins can find another gear for 2021, I think this could be a playoff team, sneaky playoff team.
Look, I've said Dalvin Cook's my number 101 in fantasy football this year.
Yeah,
I think there's going to be a lot of running the ball. I like Alexander Madison. Having Jefferson and Adam Thielen, who apparently people think is dead because I keep doing mock drafts and he winds up in the 7th round, which is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I just look at this Minnesota team, and the thing that bothers me is I don't know how good this defense is going to be. And I'm afraid you're going to be bringing a knife to a gunfight quite often with Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the best case scenario, and it's score early and score often.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to. A lot of people seem to be putting a lot of credence into the defense with, Mike Zimmer will figure it out. And with Danielle Hunter coming back, I just don't look. I like them in the middle. I like Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson. I think they're going to be fine against the run. I just look at the possible issues with Gladney, legal issues. You've just brought in a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
And I don't know that outside of Danielle Hunter you have anybody that's going to get after the passer in a way that's going to keep the heat off those guys. I like Patrick Peterson. He's more named now than he is talent.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he's not as good as the name says he is.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody on this defense is cast about one spot too high. I like Peterson as a 2. I like Cameron Dantzler as a 3. I like Rashad Breeland as a depth guy. Gladney is a guy that I like the talent. I'm just not sure he's going to play because he's going to be in some significant legal kerfuffle.
Right.
I think this is a team that could surprise you and be better than people think they are.
I 100%.
But Kirk Cousins has to be the conduit to the change because he has to be good Kirk.
I think
you can't have bad Kirk and this team not go 8-9.
What they had last year, was that good Kirk, bad Kirk, or was it just Kirk? Because I think it was just Kirk. Stretching on the side of good Kirk.
It's hard to say. So here's why. What I believe is because it's so stringent on the defense that they were behind a lot of games last year where they had to throw a lot more than I think their game plan wanted to be. So I think, just remember, Kevin Stefanski from here, his idea, and it's still that kind of offense. They want to just run the ball. And what happened was the defense was so bad last year, they ended up having to be down. They were down more games than they wanted to, so they got away from what they wanted to do. And that's why I think Kirk Cousins and the defense are so intertwined. I think what you get from Kirk Cousins are going to be intertwined with how good the defense is going to be. Because I think if you can just hand the ball off a bunch of times and you don't ask Kirk to throw the ball 30 to 35 times a game, and you're looking at more of that 20 to 25 points a game and just don't turn the ball over, I think he can have a better year. So I think it's so dependent on what the defense is going to be to see what we're going to have with Kirk. If that makes, I know that was a lot of talking in circles, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
And Kirk Cousins is just one of those guys that, I feel like he's at the top of the mediocre tier of quarterbacks in the NFL.
He's an empty stat guy. I've always said it about Kirk Cousins.
4,500 yards a year and 35 touchdowns. He's going to throw more picks than you like, but he's just going to, he's like Carson Palmer.
Yeah, it's not a terrible comparison.
And like Carson Palmer.
He's an empty stat guy to me. The thing for me with Cousins is that he has to be what he was last year. 3-to-1 interception guy.
Yeah.
You have to not turn the ball over because, like I said, I think you're going to be able to run the ball. I think the defense can be better. I just look at it and go, I don't see how you're better than Green Bay.
No.
I don't. So you're fighting for a wild card spot, and you're fighting for a wild card spot with a schedule that consists of, I mean, you got to understand, so the 6 games before the bye, you start with Cincinnati, which will be a win. Then you get Arizona, Seattle, Cleveland, and Detroit, and then at Carolina. You could be 2-4 going into the bye week.
Right.
Then you have an early bye week, and there's a lot of Dallas and Baltimore and the Chargers and the 49ers and the Steelers and the Rams. It's just really daunting, and there's a lot of really good offenses here. And that's kind of leads into, they don't like that. Yeah. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. The worst case scenario is that Kirk Cousins is bad.
And you got to kind of frame what bad is. Bad Kirk Cousins.
Bad is like 20 interceptions, Kirk Cousins.
And he's never been that.
Yeah.
In his career, he's never been that.
Yeah.
So to me, that's not the bad Kirk Cousins. Where I fall into the bad Kirk Cousins is like 2017, 2018, where he was just a dude. He threw for 4,000 yards. There were a lot of bad decisions. There were a copious amount of potential turnovers. The interception rate's not stupidly high, but the potential interception rate was stupidly high. And if that goes the wrong way, then you could be bad Kirk. And I feel he's going to be asked to do a lot because you do have to play so many of these high-end offenses. You got to play Green Bay twice. You got to play Pittsburgh, who I think still maintain is going to be way better than people think they are. The Rams, the 49ers, which is going to be a difficult offense to stop. The Cowboys, the Ravens. I'm afraid you're going to get into a lot of just shootout type games. And I'm afraid that it's a lot of Dak Kirk. Okay, I win. I get Dak. Lamar Kirk. Okay, I win. I get Lamar. Stafford Kirk. I mean, be really honest with yourself. Look at the schedule. How many of these games do you definitively know the team they're playing has a better quarterback? I count 11.
Yeah, that's the thing.
11 of your 17 games, I know they have a better quarterback than you do. That didn't include Joe Burrow, who I think is better. I'm just scared to death of the line.
No, I mean, it was about a month ago when we were doing a lot of the draft stuff, and we were talking about quarterbacks who could play. You had mentioned that you think there is a path to where the Vikings would see Keelan Mond at quarterback this year.
Depends on how good he is.
Do you still think he's got a path to that?
If they start 2-4 and Kellen Mond has been just lighting things up, and here's the thing: you got to be real careful with training camp. Training camp, everybody, all these reporters we have to fill content, and so there's a lot of hype. Kellen Mond hasn't been the rookie that I've heard nothing but glowing shit about. So do I think there's a path to it? Yes, it's most likely an injury.
Yeah.
I don't think Kirk can be so bad that they go to a rookie. Unless they're sitting at, just
like you just said, 2-4 going into the bye week.
Yeah, I don't even know that that's enough.
Yeah.
I don't even know that that's enough. Yeah. I think they would have to go.
Start like 0-6.
I think you'd have to be 2-9 going into Detroit. Week of Thanksgiving you play San Francisco.
Where you're so bad you don't have any shot. We're just going to go ahead and reset and just go with it.
To me, you have to start 2-4. Then you lose Dallas, Baltimore, Chargers, Packers, San Francisco, and you look at it and go, you know what? We got a Detroit game here that's winnable. We got 2 of Chicago that are winnable. Can we build some momentum going into the offseason and see what we have in Kellen Mond?
Yeah.
Because then Kirk Cousins is not coming back, and he's probably the next quarterback of the Denver Broncos.
Armchair Commentary asks, do the Vikings need to consider either going all in or an all-out rebuild?
All-out rebuild is a no. They've got too many good pieces.
Right. I don't think
and
this
they had
team is
such
really
a good draft. We talked about it.
They're stuck in a position where I don't. What would be going all in? Getting rid of Kirk Cousins and going after a quarterback? Okay. If that's what we're talking about, to me, that's the only thing that you can massively upgrade right now to go all in. I mean, you've got the receivers, you've got the running back, you've got an offensive line that I think is going to be ungodly. I mean, when everybody develops. Obviously, the Christian Darrisaw thing, just getting him in the draft this year, it's a question mark for some people of how good is he going to be. I like all of the pieces that they have. They have young players. They killed the NFL draft.
In the last couple of years, they've done well.
Absolutely hit a home run in the draft this past year and year before that as well. I don't know that this is a team that has the option of doing either. And that's the problem. Like, you are what you are. And unless you can find a superstar quarterback out there somewhere, I mean, the Green Bay Packers are never going to let Aaron Rodgers end up in Minnesota after the Brett Favre thing.
Yeah.
That'll never happen.
And I feel like we're in that position where Jeremy talks about a lot. They're in that weird no-win situation. But to me, I just feel like I'd rather just cut after this year, if barring a deep run in the playoffs, I would just cut ties with Kirk Cousins and go no matter what, because he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. So let's try to find somebody.
And you have so much good young talent.
Yeah, whether it be Keelan Mond or somebody else. I just think at this point, you know what Kirk Cousins is. You can't win a Super Bowl with him, so why not just cut it and go? And I think so. This might be the last year we see Kirk Cousins play for Minnesota, regardless. Even if I could see them even making the playoffs as a wild card, losing the first round.
I got news for you. The only way Kirk Cousins is not there is if they found a trade partner. Because cutting him is absolutely not an option.
Right.
Because all of the money guarantees upon cutting him.
After this year still?
Yes.
Okay.
$45 million dead cap hit. That's not gonna happen. But
I think
if you find somebody that's willing to if he's willing to restructure the deal to get another shot as a starter, if this season doesn't go well, I've always said it to Denver. I think there was discussion of that before the year. Denver wouldn't eat the money. That's why they didn't take Justin Fields, because they wanted to find that stopgap guy, because Denver thinks they're so good that they just need somebody like Kirk Cousins that can come in and throw. I can tell you those discussions happened. The discussion of Kirk Cousins to Denver happened. I promise you that. I would bet my reputation on it. They couldn't make the money work.
Yeah.
So Minnesota, at the end of the day, was ready to move on.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said it that way. They were willing to move on. I'm not going to say they were ready. If they could get out from underneath the money, draft the quarterback, do the things, and I think that would have put Justin Fields in Minnesota, and that's where all of that discussion came from.
Yeah.
The money never got worked out with Denver, because they weren't willing to eat as much of it as they needed to.
if you're looking next year at a quarterback swap or a possible quarterback swap, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, flip those two. Does Minnesota feel better with Matt Ryan than they do with Kirk Cousins?
No.
I wouldn't think so either. With another year under Matt Ryan's belt, reaching the end of his career.
Here's the other thing
I
that
don't know
nobody
that I
wanted to
see
talk
that.
about. Minnesota's smarter than Chicago is. Sorry, Bears fans. I'm sorry to hurt your fucking feelings. You don't take quarterbacks when a coaching staff's on their way out. And I'll be honest with you, I've warmed to Justin Fields. I have not warmed to Matt Nagy at all.
Yeah.
So Minnesota, Mike Zimmer's in more trouble than people think he is. If this goes super sideways.
100%.
I mean, and it would have to go, I think, aggressively bad. I don't think 8-9 is going to do it.
No.
I think it would have to be
5-12, 6-13.
But that path is there.
6-11.
That path is there because the schedule's so unbelievably good.
Agreed. And if this goes sideways and, Minnesota gets skull fucked by their quarterback.
He had to get that in there. He was so happy when he came
I wanted to put it on the bottom, and Jeremy said, you can't do that.
I mean, you could.
Fine.
You could if you don't want to monetize anything.
They
don't like the word fucked being written on the screen real big.
And I said, so blur it out. And apparently he said that still matters. If you blur out obscenities, they still hit you. So, anywho, I think that's, there's an absolute path for Minnesota just to be god-awful, and they win 5 games.
Yep.
Armchair go either way.
Armchair in the comments said, are they not in that super uncomfortable place of just being mediocre? Yes.
Yeah.
That's a bad thing. If you, I'll give you an example, and I'm not saying I think this would happen, but I'm saying just take the journey with me.
Okay.
If Deshaun Watson was the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, they're a Super Bowl contender.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
I'm in.
That's how much a quarterback matters. This is a team that none of us really think is going to make the playoffs. If they do, they're going to be the last team in, and they're going to be fodder for Green Bay or one of these hellacious top end of the NFC teams.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Watson, you can convince me that you would win the Super Bowl. That's how good this team is.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 legitimate wide receivers. To me, you have the best running back in the NFL, and you have just a shit ton of talent on the line.
Yeah.
The defense doesn't have to be great. It has to be better than it was last year.
Yeah.
You couldn't breathe on a quarterback last year.
Right.
Danielle Hunter is going to fix that. I don't think he completely fixes it, but he's certainly going to help.
What's the one move? The one move they can make to get better? I think it's a third receiver. I think, once you get past Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, you got Olabisi Johnson and Chad Beebe.
I just don't think they necessarily need one because I think their running back could be their third wide receiver.
Could be.
And I also think that Irv Smith, which people have talked about it, like Jeremy said, he was waiting for them to unwrap him, but they've also kind of said he's going to still be the Kyle Rudolph, which kind of sent him down a little bit.
Yep.
But I think that's why I would say they don't necessarily need him, because they have the running back kick that can catch the ball out of the backfield, and they have a serviceable, above-average tight end. So the third wide receiver isn't too much of a concern for me.
I just think they're going to play a lot of 12 personnel.
Yeah, and I think I think maybe what they need to do is if they can get somebody
on the edge.
On the
Everson
edge,
Griffin.
yeah.
That's the one. That was mine.
To go back there.
You reunite with Everson. I know things didn't end
Yeah.
well and all that bullshit, but that's the move.
Yeah.
To me.
Mm-hmm.
You do need another pass rusher.
Yeah.
Somebody can get after the quarterback, and that would
On the other side of Daniil Hunter, because he's going
Right.
to get double teamed constantly.
Right. Is he the only one that's out there, though?
No, I mean, there's guys, but none of them are. Everson Griffin is the only one that's a scheme fit. Justin Hunter's better standing up. Melvin Ingram's better standing up. There's another.
Olivier Vernon. Justin Houston.
Is that not what I said?
Did you say Justin Houston?
Justin Houston.
Sorry.
I didn't hear it, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
If that's not who I said, that's who I meant, and now I don't know what name I said. I could have said Justin Bieber. I'm not really fucking sure. But I meant Justin Houston.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, edge rusher, and I still think a third receiver is something that you should at least entertain.
Yeah, I'm fine.
But
I'm fine with Obie Johnson as the 3.
But I
just don't think that guy's going to be asked to do that much, because I like Irv Smith so much. And I understand they've said his role's not going to increase. That's bullshit. The more the more I think about this, the more that's bullshit, because I don't know how it couldn't. Because I don't know who in the hell else you think you're going to trot out there at tight end in those 2 tight end sets.
Yeah.
Right.
Tyler Conklin, bullshit. Piss on my leg, but I'm going to ask you why it's warm.
Right. It could go. There's a vast array of way things could go for the Minnesota Vikings this year, but I think there is a chance that they could be that sneaky team that we're coming up to the end of the year and thinking, holy crap, they've actually got a shot. Much more so than we were last year.
Got a shot at making the playoffs.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've got a shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's no chance for that they're a championship team. Support for the Sportsocracy is brought to you by fine folks at Manscaped. Manscaped offers the precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They have engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. The 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0, which you can get today with 20% off by using our promo code Sportsocracy at manscaped.com. Get you 20% off of your purchase and free worldwide shipping.